Hello, everybody. This is John Yeager of Bennett Thrasher with another episode of Think Business. Today, I'm delighted to have a special guest, Ryan Kerry, founder and CEO of KnowLedger. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, John.
So tell us a little bit about KnowLedger and a little bit about your background. We're specifically focusing on the family office space today. There's a lot of things going on in that space. So tell us about your background and how you came to be with KnowLedger.
Sure. And I have to go back to the 90s to explain. I was actually doing a little bit of KnowLedger work back then for Advent Software. Back then it was called GLX, and I was doing integration with their old systems and general ledgers for families back then. And it was kludgy and it broke a lot. And that's where I learned my chops on the family office side. Fast forward, left Advent, went to SEI. I started my prior company in 2008, and a third of those clients in that company were also family offices. And while running that company was AccuSource, while running that company, I saw the opportunity when I saw rules engines and what rules engines can do for accounting process. So then got sold KnowLedger and started to focus on, sold AccuSource and focused on KnowLedger. And then all the years of that experience brought in a partner that is heavily involved in the family office and general ledger space. That's the evolution of how we got to such a niche product for a niche client set.
Gotcha. And tell me a little about what the value KnowLedger brings to the market. What's the business proposition, the value proposition?
So most family offices are getting their investment data and holdings and having the accountants do the process and using fingers and eyeballs, typing it into the general ledger. Think of KnowLedger as the middleware in between your investment data, wherever it's held, and your general ledger. And it's the brains of the accountants doing the journal entries very quickly, very automated, with a lot of data going in at the same time. Gotcha.
Awesome. So having worked with a number of family offices, I think when we've talked, you've said that there's a lot of processes in place that are there because they've just always been there. Mm-hmm. And I know inertia is either inertia or lack of resources to kind of, lack of time to kind of revisit those and change those. I know that's a big hurdle to overcome with a lot of family offices, ones that they struggle with, right? So tell me kind of what your experience has been, kind of what examples you've seen and maybe how you've helped them move through that process.
Sure. I think there's a couple examples, but the best one I usually start out with, and I did this back in the 90s too, is like you start on reporting. What reporting do you have to give to whoever you're reporting to? And in family offices, that may be a patriarch, it may be the CFO, it varies. And then you question, do you still need this? Because as time goes on, what I've seen is so many of the family offices create these books of reports. And maybe that was a generation old, and maybe the new CFO or controller doesn't want that. So question it. And then the downstream impact of questioning, that's the way we've always done it, can really cascade down and save time and effort through the process. So a good example would be, we create this quarterly book for the controller. Let's say you take some of those reports out. How could that impact your input either into your performance tool or to the GL? Do you put in more data or less data? And when the answer is less data, then you start to question, where do we get the data? How do we get the data? And then how do you reconcile it? If you're putting in less data, that can save a lot of work.
Absolutely. So when you talked about the movement of data, certainly we've evolved from that standpoint. Used to be, we were, finger keying it all in at one point, and then there are some other ways we pushed it in, and we use CSV uploads and downloads, but now there's all kinds of ways to automate that process. And obviously KnowLedger uses a lot of those, but, outside of KnowLedger, there's some other ways to automate as well. Have you worked with family offices to help them think through those issues, and what things have you seen that have been very helpful to the family offices?
Mm-hmm. Yes, KnowLedger is very much about the automation, and yes, that Excel is always going to exist in some fashion. And even working with your crew, John, because I've seen we're so narrow focused on the investment, and we see your crew come in and do the other bill pay, payroll, AP, those types of automations. And we're very focused on that centerpiece. So the automation, and you see this grow over the years from manually keying the journal entries into, oh, let's use Excel. Oh, let's use Excel with some macros and Visual Basic. And then you kind of evolve up and through. And as you upgrade your GL. So then when you get to something like our value benefit is, we're going to connect with APIs, most likely to your source system and then to your GL. And it really takes the human element out while giving you all the detail and process. It makes everything a lot easier to run.
So what's an API?
Think of API as a connection. So not a connection here via Zoom or Teams. Think of it as a secure connection saying, I have the credentials to go out and get this piece of data. A lot of our clients are Addepar clients. So the Addepar client would say, here's a username and a very unique password that the client doesn't even know that they give us. Then when we call into their Addepar, it's going to say, oh, this is the right person. This is the credentials. Get them just the data they need because they're calling specific data, and then we'll pull it back and process it. So think of it as a very secure gateway to get information rather than no sending files, nothing on email. Oh, those are always bad answers.
So I know APIs come in all different flavors in terms of their capabilities and strength and those kind of things. We've talked about Addepar has a pretty strong one. We can get the information we need. There's other systems that may not be as strong. How do you tend to work with those systems that maybe don't have as strong a API connection?
Usually when we build direct custodian interfaces, we haven't run into one yet that's going to have an API. They like to send files. So it goes back to the old file. They might be sending a zip and it's XML or text or, tab, or that still exists and we can deal with those. So it's usually API or file based is what we're seeing.
Gotcha. And any other automation that you guys have seen that, besides that, that's kind of come into play?
More on your side, your side, on the entire accounting suite, whenever you guys come in with either you're helping them from a VAR perspective or SIP perspective, and you're connecting all those other tools. That's where I see the families really benefit from going. Again, it goes back to the first topic we talked about. Don't always just do it because it's the way it's been done. Ask other people, have conversations. What have other families done? And you can usually automate and make life a lot easier.
Absolutely. It's interesting. One of the things that we're working on right now is our internal technology team has some robotic process automation capabilities. And so we're working with them to maybe build some bots that can go out and do some things. And we're doing kind of a proof of concept right now. We have a client that has 200 bank accounts. And so the bot's helping us go out and grab the PDF statement, put it in the, kind of the permanent binder. So we have it for audit purposes. It goes out and grabs transactions. It throws it into Intact, kicks off the reconciliation process. And then Intact has an automated reconciliation process where all the matches and those kind of things. And, by the sound of it, our team is going to probably save 20, 30 hours a month just on that one particular client, doing the bank recs. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get to that answer.
Maybe another good example is, John, maybe another good example is you ask about non-API in the files. Usually when we start talking to the client, they say, oh, we want you to connect to Boney. We want you to connect to Schwab. And the default answer, people are like, we'll send you the file. I'm like, let's have a conversation with the custodian. Every single time the custodian's like, here's how we're going to, they connect us to their tech team. Here's how you pull it or we push it. Every single time you can get it automated. And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but having it consistently be sent to a secure location where humans aren't involved, and then KnowLedger can be then put on a schedule to run, you're automating it and just making life a lot easier.
Have you been able to quantify it all? When you worked with your family offices, how much time you can save their internal staffs? Have you been able to look at that? You may have anecdotal evidence rather than kind of quantitative data, but any thoughts there?
It's very, it's not quantitative. But we hear things from the clients on how quickly they can close now, because once they get us, take a process we have for a few clients that run Northern Trust. So Northern Trust will finish the month. They send us a monthly file. We can run daily, weekly, monthly, but it all depends on the source. So in this Northern Trust example, once the audited file is available and is pushed up to us, once we have that file, there's no more than a day ever needed. Realistically, it's an hour or two for us to process that, post the journal entries, and that then you're taking your powerful accounting team and knowledge and not creating journal entries. You're letting KnowLedger do all the journal entries, and then they can immediately go do their audit for the last month, and everything is posted. So that's oh, we couldn't start our audit until X day of the month. Now they can start the audit that night of the file was ready. They can start the audit right then. Is that what you were looking for, John?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for, Ryan, to give that kind of information. And when we look at it, using automation and trying to use other tools, and even when you get to the outsource model, our job, we feel like, is to enable the family office analysts, the family office CFO, the family office controller to use their time doing more valuable and productive things, analyzing the numbers, figuring out what's going on with the business, figuring out, analyzing the reporting, and be able to talk to the family members about those kind of things. So freeing up all that time rather than worry about, kind of the blocking and tackling, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We even have the quote on our website. It says, get out of data entry and get back to accounting. Similar.
Yep, absolutely. So then, we talked about automation, and then obviously the next logical step is there's a lot of family offices have decided to outsource their accounting function as a way to maybe get more bang for the buck, maybe get some deeper expertise on the accounting side and a better close process and those kind of things. What are you guys seeing from that standpoint?
That trend is just expanding, I see. And I don't think there's a limit on, is it a small family office, big family office? It applies everywhere. And the one thing I've learned in the Sage Intact ecosystem is you can pick and choose what you want to outsource. And I usually say, if you're just dabbling into this, pick the things your staff doesn't like to do. Probably payroll and bill pay, I'm guessing, is high on that list. I'm a little biased on, they probably don't like doing all those journal entries either. Pick those things your staff doesn't like and start to outsource those. And then it becomes flexible and say, where do we want to move and keep outsourcing more and more, or that's good enough. Let's leave it right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we certainly see that, working together, kind of outsourcing to you guys, the middleware piece of bringing the data into the system in a more organized and structured way. And then we automate and outsource, a lot of the processes and procedures, both around the system and creating reporting, but also around bill pay and bank recs and those kind of things. So we see it as a nice combination of all of those type services.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that's really, this is a current event almost, is it's so hard to hire resources on anywhere but on the accounting staff. So if you're losing resources, that's a perfect time. What did they do? Do I reallocate what they do? Let's keep this in-house. Let's outsource the other things. And if you've already got an outsourcing partner, BT or other, then you can say, oh, let's add this. Let's add this to your task. And it really, I think outsourcing is the trend. My previous company was outsourcing. KnowLedger's more software, but now that's why we're teaming up with the BTs of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we certainly seeing that, and you're feeling my pain on the on the finding talent, right? Everybody's going through that, and what we try to work with clients on is say, let us deal with those challenges. We're set up to deal with those challenges. We're constantly in the market looking for talent, and we can provide career paths and training and all those kind of things. So let us take that burden off you. Well, Ryan, I'm gonna wrap it up, but I really appreciate you joining us. If clients are interested in working with you, how would they get in touch with you?
The website and my email are down at the bottom. You can contact us that way, and the website is just knowledgerllc.com.
Awesome. Anything else? Any other final points you wanna make to the audience?
Well, thank you for the invite. And I guess all of these topics are wrapped up in the open-minded. You can do a lot of things, be it Sage Intacct or other GLs, and there's a lot of resources out there that can help.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for joining us. Thank you for watching this episode, and please be sure to tune in next time. Again, this is John Yeager of Bennett Thrasher, and you guys have a great day.